Hey there, this is Brandon, and welcome back to the Bitcoin Investors Club. You might think that I need to change the name of this channel, but I'm going to leave it for now, and I will attempt to explain that in this video. My last video received a lot of thumbs down clicks, and as you can see here, it received more clicks than the last few videos combined. Now, I'm a huge believer in personal freedom, so I certainly respect your freedom to express how you felt about my video. And honestly, I expected a stronger reaction than this, so I'm not surprised at all, and I didn't get my feelings hurt or anything like that. You know, from day one, I've wanted this channel to be interactive, and this is at least some form of interaction, so that's cool. Excuse me. However, what I would really like, even more than the thumbs up or the thumbs down clicks, is some comments. So I'm just going to put out a request, just a request. If you were one of the viewers who clicked the thumbs down on this video, would you mind just please posting a comment below? Because just let me know what's up. Let me know why you clicked the thumbs down. I would really, if possible, I would really like to have the opportunity to address your concerns. I mean, I have some ideas, but I'd rather not put words in your mouth. I'd rather hear directly from you about what it was you didn't like, what rubbed you the wrong way. So, since Monday night and the Mike Maloney video, I have been absolutely just obsessed with learning as much as I possibly can about Hashgraph. And I do plan to do another video soon that really gets into the nitty-gritty details of what I've learned. But for this video, I'd like to clarify some of the information I tried to communicate in my last video. So, first of all, I still believe in Bitcoin. It's the world's first and the world's biggest decentralized cryptocurrency. And it's functioning as I would like it to function. In other words, it's giving people an ability to transfer their wealth from a fraudulent Ponzi fiat currency scam to a functioning, fair form of money that actually stores value very effectively. And, I like that. I'm a fan of that. I believe that it's a really good thing for all of humanity. So you could say I'm still very much a Bitcoin fanboy, right? But maybe to be more accurate, you can say I am a decentralized cryptocurrency fanboy, which currently Bitcoin is the main one. So that being said, what Mike Maloney's video did, and if you get the chance, I highly recommend not only watching this video, but if you click here, you get the bonus videos. I highly recommend watching these bonus videos as well. But what these videos did, in addition to introducing the Hashgraph technology, is they put a giant spotlight on some major flaws with the blockchain technology, which is what Bitcoin is based on, right? And so prior to these videos, I really had no concept about these flaws at all. It was major news to me. And so what flaws am I talking about? Okay, so one flaw with blockchain has to do with proof of work. Proof of work is the extremely difficult math problem that the miners have to solve in order to publish the next block on the blockchain, right? That's when they get rewarded with new Bitcoins, when they publish that next block. So proof of work, excuse me, proof of work is the solution for a problem that comes up with blockchains. So the problem with blockchains is that when two nodes on the network raise their hands at the same time because they both want to add a block and they both want to get the reward, that's a problem. So, they both solved the math problem at the same time, and it actually happens more often than you'd really think. It's called a soft fork. And so with a soft fork, the blockchain splits into two chains for a period of time. And some miners will go to work on one branch, and the other miners will go to work on the other branch. And it then becomes this race. And the branch that grows longer first, in other words, gets the next block, that's the winning branch. And the losing branch is cut off, and we're back to one contiguous blockchain. But the problem is, if there's a soft fork and the system goes too fast, you might have another fork before the first fork is resolved, and then another one, and you no longer have a chain, you now have a tree, and the whole thing crashes. So the solution for this problem is to slow the miners down with proof of work. The solution, that's the solution for the soft fork problem is to slow the system down. So I want to play this little snippet.
Actions. This soft forking is the main reason the system must be slowed down on purpose via the math problem. If the system was instant, it would be forking everywhere, all the time, and there would be no consensus. No one would have any idea of which ledger was the correct one, and every computer would be busy building a different block to create yet another fork. The slowness and immense amount of computing power is required to keep the Bitcoin ledger in full consensus. Therefore, as more and more computing power is added to the network, the system automatically adjusts to increase the difficulty of solving the math problem, which then requires even more power. If Bitcoin is ever going to be widely used, it will be using...
Okay, so there's also a quote from Dr. Lehman Baird that I just love, and I'm going to read it here. He says, quote, "This means that we are wasting both money and electricity to build a system that is slow on purpose. The whole purpose of the mining rigs is to slow down the system. The reason we did proof of work in the first place was to make it slower, which isn't terribly conducive to being fast. If you want a fast system, your first step shouldn't be, how can I slow this down?" Right? I love that. If you want a fast system, your first step shouldn't be, how can I slow this down? Which is exactly what proof of work does to solve the soft fork problem. But I'm getting a little bit off track. So, okay, so there's that. And the other flaw has to do with the miners. Okay, the mining is done with these very expensive computers called mining rigs. And without the mining rigs doing the proof of work, the blockchain doesn't exist. Okay, so the blockchain can't exist without these mining rigs. And here again, I quote Dr. Lehman Baird, quote, "There are systems that would require you to buy a supercomputer. It's called a mining rig. It's a big box full of specially built chips that don't do anything for humanity. They just mine. Which means they solve math problems that have no inherent use. And the purpose of them is to slow down the network." Excuse me. So this really doesn't make a lot of sense to me, this design. And don't get me wrong, okay, blockchain was an absolutely beautiful invention. And Bitcoin is an absolutely amazing application that was built on top of it. This was a fantastic first step towards something that never existed before, something that has the potential to free the human race from the central banks and their fraudulent currency scam. but it was still just a first step. It's like the first ever personal computer, right? The PC was this amazing new thing, and at the beginning, most people didn't see any viable purpose for it, right? They didn't understand it. They didn't really see a need. And it's kind of like Bitcoin, right? Most people just don't really get it. They don't understand Bitcoin. They don't see the purpose, right? But then the PC grew, right? It became more useful, and it absolutely exploded onto the scene. But along the way, what happened with that first PC? The first PC was replaced with newer and better technology. So blockchain is like the first PC. It's beautiful, right? Gorgeous. It's awesome technology. But like that first PC, and especially because of these inherent design flaws, I believe that blockchain technology will eventually be replaced by something better. I don't believe that Bitcoin will ever take over the entire world's monetary system. If it did, the energy requirements would be completely unsustainable, right? Okay, so what's going to happen, right? I don't know. I can't predict the future. I can only tell you what I believe based on the evidence that I've seen so far. And the evidence is telling me that the Hashgraph technology is significantly superior to blockchain technology. Okay, the microprocessor in a cell phone is enough to run Hashgraph in a cell phone. Okay, not a supercomputer, not even a nice laptop. A cell phone can be a node on the Hashgraph. Okay, but it's not necessarily all sunshine and rainbows with Hashgraph. All right, there are some pretty important unanswered questions. One question is, will the Hashgraph technology be released to the public? Will it be free and open source? Blockchain is free. Blockchain is open source. Hashgraph at this point is a technology that's owned by a company called Swirlds. I don't know, so I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if Hashgraph will be released free and open source to the public. But I think that I think the answer will be yes. I think it will be released, and it will be free, and it will be open source. And I want to play a little chunk of video here.
And so Swirlds is not going to make Swirlds is not going to make that much money from this public network. Is the point?
Emphasize that there won't be, this is going to be the intention of the creator. I wouldn't have gotten involved in this if we weren't going to create a public utility which was basically free for everyone to use. This is the thing that I think will change the world. To be honest, that's what interests me the most. There is a revenue model because you need nodes to verify transactions. But and the other thing I wanted to mention is that because it's not proof of work. I mean, Bitcoin now is. I love Bitcoin, by the way. Look, it is the forefather, right? But it is eating up 0.1% of the world's electricity. You can Google it. It's a huge problem. It's a humongous massive amount of energy, right? What if it becomes even more proliferant? What are we looking at? Like a couple of percent? You're looking at like that is going to contribute to the melting of global ice caps, etc., etc., etc. So,
okay, so so I think the answer to that question is yes. I think it will be, as he says, released as a public utility, basically for free. So another question is whether or not the Hashgraph technology is viable on a public network, right? That's a huge question. At this point, the technology has only been proven on private networks, which is much easier for DLT, distributed ledger technology, because you don't have malicious actors on a private network trying to game the system. So will the technology work when the rubber hits the road? Again, I don't know. What I can tell you is that I have watched Hidden Secrets of Money, episode 8, and I've watched all of the bonus videos, and I've watched some other stuff. And really, after hearing Dr. Lehman Baird speak about this, I mean, he's the inventor of the technology. So after hearing him talk about the Hashgraph, the guy strikes me as absolutely brilliant. And you can be the judge of that for yourself if you watch these videos. But so I tend to believe him when he talks about what's possible with this technology. I believe he's solved this puzzle. But I'm still researching this, and I'm still trying to understand all of the issues and trying to understand the different ways that this technology solves those issues. All right. So to summarize everything, I love blockchain and I love Bitcoin, right? But I also believe that they aren't sustainable. The energy requirements and the computing hardware requirements aren't sustainable, and they aren't scalable, right? We're already seeing evidence of this today, with the way the network is completely and constantly overwhelmed, right? Bitcoin can't handle the size that it is right now, much less any larger size. I mean, Bitcoin's not even $300 billion in market cap. Okay, not even $300 billion in market cap. And so it's tiny. It's nowhere near the size it needs to be in order to function as a true worldwide digital currency, right? Which is what we all want. So the technology is awesome and beautiful, but it's just version 1. And I believe it will become obsolete when a better technology comes along, even if it's not Hashgraph. Blockchain will become obsolete. That's just what I believe. So when is that going to happen? Again, that I have no way to know. I have no idea when it's going to happen. All I can do is adjust my investment strategy accordingly and adjust my management strategy accordingly and just prepare as well as possible for whatever I think might happen. So one action that I took, which was an absolute no-brainer, was just to sell the Bitcoin that I was holding. Okay, so I mean, it was just a trade. That's all it was. It was just a trade. Buy low and sell high, right? So it was trading. I had purchased it in this area, right? And it was trading way up here. And so, it's trading at a higher price than where I bought it. So I just got out and just sold it. It was just a trade, right? As far as the investments that we have in BitConnect and Hashflare, I can't simply pull that money out, right? It's locked in. So it is a little scary because if Bitcoin goes to zero, those investments will also go to zero. But let me just say a few things about that, all right? So number one, the buildup around blockchain technology and Bitcoin and all the altcoins, it's really immense at this point. It's huge. There are a lot of companies and a lot of money and a lot of activity and a lot of plans for more and more to come, right? So I really don't think that all of that is going to go down without at least a fight, right? Number two, even though Bitcoin is completely dysfunctional as a currency, as a medium of exchange, right? It doesn't function because it's so slow, and it's only going to get slower. It can still possibly function as a store of value, right? So they say Bitcoin is digital gold, right? So actual gold, actual real life gold, doesn't really function as a currency either. It's not used as a medium of exchange, but it hasn't gone to zero. It still functions as a store of value. So maybe the future of Bitcoin is similar. Maybe Bitcoin will continue to exist and continue to function just as a store of value. I don't know, but that's a possibility in my mind. Number 3, adoption of some new cryptocurrency based on the Hashgraph technology. That might be a very slow process. I mean, it might be very, very quick, but it also might be slow. We don't really know how it's all going to go down. Personally, I think, it's going to be a battle for the history books, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen, honestly. But getting back to our investments with BitConnect and Hashflare, we're not doing anything drastic or rash, Brenda and myself. Okay? All we're doing is just moving our timeline around a little bit. So instead of 100% reinvesting all the way, we're just going to withdraw all of the daily earnings for a period of time. Right? So the goal is to get back all of our original seed money. If you've watched my videos, you know that we have about $6,800 in BitConnect, and now we have about $2,900 invested in Hashflare. Fortunately for me, with my arbitrage trading that I've done, and also just straight up Bitcoin trading, plus some of the BitConnect interest and earnings that we've already pulled out, we've already recovered, I think, about $4,000. I haven't updated my spreadsheet all the way. But we've already recovered a good amount of our original investment. And I believe that we'll be able to get the rest out just based on the daily earnings in BitConnect and Hashflare. I think we'll be able to get all of the rest out by sometime in early February. And at that point, it's a completely free ride. And we're probably, not for sure, but we're probably at that point going to start reinvesting again. You just have to look at what's going on, look at what's happening with Bitcoin and Hashgraph and all the rest, and kind of evaluate it. But we're probably going to start reinvesting once again and try to get to that point where we have a really good daily income that can change our lives. So we're not really making any big changes. It's just a little tweak in how we are managing our investments, just in case this all blows up, right? Which, by the way, was always a possibility from the very beginning, right? Bitcoin blowing up was always a possibility. Nothing has changed. It's the reason I've always said, only invest what you can afford to lose, right? I've always said that, and I've always posted that in the description below my videos. Hashgraph is just the latest threat to Bitcoin. It's a new threat, but for Bitcoin to be under constant threat is nothing new. You all have known all along that Bitcoin might someday crash and burn, right? You've known that. And so this latest development with Hashgraph shouldn't really come as a big surprise. Okay, so I want to end the video on a positive note. So just bear with me for a second, and I want to say this. So basically, the entire cryptocurrency industry revolves around blockchain, right? And all of the experts, the so-called experts, are so entrenched in that technology. They're married to that technology, and so they can't really see what's coming outside of that technology. They don't even want to consider it because it conflicts with their beliefs and it threatens their wealth, and it threatens their livelihood, so that they don't even consider it. But we, the members of this club, okay, the Bitcoin Investment Club, we won't be stuck in that same way of thinking. We're not going to blindly stay in the sinking blockchain boat. If it does start to sink, we won't be on board. A lot of people, trust me, a lot of people will stay in it until it goes all the way down to zero. A lot of people. But we won't be amongst them. Okay, so it's similar to a novice losing trader, right? Somebody trying to trade the financial markets. And what they'll do is they'll stay in a trade that's going against them. And they'll stay and they'll stay and they'll stay until their whole account is blown up, right? That's not what we're going to do. So the so-called experts and the blockchain enthusiasts, if you will, they don't believe Bitcoin can go to zero. So why would they have to have an exit plan? They don't need an exit plan because that's not going to happen in their mind, in their belief. But we have a different plan, right? We have an exit plan. We won't get stuck in that tunnel vision. We won't be the deer in the headlights if and when this starts to happen, right? So because of this stance, we will be the early adopters. We'll be on the correct side of the huge shift that will happen from blockchain to Hashgraph. And the most beautiful part of all of this is, even if Hashgraph never does anything, all that means is that Bitcoin has one less threat. And that means that Bitcoin will just continue to keep going strong, right? And what does that mean? That means our investments that we have will just continue to perform fantastically, right? So no matter what happens, blockchain, Hashgraph, whatever, we're good. We're all set. Okay? Personally, I hope it's Hashgraph, and I hope to be able to jump on that as one of the earliest adopters of that cryptocurrency, and I hope to, make some really, really life-changing wealth out of it, okay? But if it doesn't happen, I'm good, and you're good. We have our investments. Bitcoin keeps going strong. Great. We're all set, right? So that's the positive note that I wanted to try to communicate. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for spending some of your time with me. I really appreciate it. And let's have a chat in the comments section, okay? Let's have a little discussion. All right, thanks, and I'll see you next time.